Okay. Good morning, everyone. At least good morning for those of us that are here on the West Coast. It's great to see you all today. Thank you so much for your interest in submitting proposals to this request for proposals for the Glendale Startup Growth Program. We're very excited to see the interest that has come to us so far. And we know that we're looking forward to seeing some really exciting proposals that all of you hopefully will submit. So we'll jump into today's discussion. This is the pre-bid conference for the growth program. And the overall agenda for today, we're going to be doing a quick review of the RFP, the request for proposals, and then we'll dive into a session for question and answer. We have 2 hours blocked for this. We don't anticipate that we'll need the entire time, but we wanted to make sure that we left ample time for all of you to get questions answered that you have burning in your pockets and in your heads. There may be some questions that we need to come back and kind of hold on to and then really dive deep and do some research on before giving a response. And so in those cases, we will just note the question and then do our due diligence, and then we'll make that response public, not just to the individual who asked it, but to everyone on the call today. And we'll actually post those publicly on our website along with the recordings, and then any updates, questions, answers, and additional information that surrounds this request for proposals. All of that will be made available on our GlendaleTechWeek.com/accelerators website, and then also on the city's website that has the link for the RFP itself. And then, as all of you have so far, please feel free to reach out with any questions about this process or about the RFP itself. My name is David Crawley Delgado. I'm the Senior Economic Development Coordinator here with the City of Glendale. I focus on all of our tech initiatives, our tech community creation strategy, and our tech events. So with that, let's jump into it for today. Any questions before we start? See a thumbs up. Thank you so much, Rod. All right. So, this RFP comes from the state of California to the city of Glendale, which really has become a thriving hub for tech within the Southern California ecosystem. So it's home to companies both big and small. We have over 1,500 high-tech firms here within the city, and we boast a population of just over 200,000 people. But of course, we're nestled right in the heart of Los Angeles County, closer to downtown than many places in Los Angeles itself, and very connected with the rest of the Southern California ecosystem. We're at the cross-section of 3 different major freeways, really an access portal to the entire valley and beyond towards Riverside County and further inland. We are very connected to access channels directly to the port of Los Angeles and Long Beach, and then of course, just minutes away from downtown Los Angeles and from Center City and the beach cities, while still being a little bit of a quieter community, a safer community, a community that is able to work more closely and more effectively with the companies that call us home. And also it just happens that we're so conveniently co-located right next to the Burbank Airport, Bob Hope International Airport, which is wonderful. So really a strategic advantage for the companies that do call us home. And there are quite a few companies that do call the city of Glendale home. We have 3 unicorns with several more emerging unicorns that are coming. Age of Learning, Service Titan, and LegalZoom have called Glendale home for a number of years now. And then we have several others who are growing rapidly. And I've heard whispers of exciting news happening later on this year. So definitely stay tuned to some of these logos you see here. We, of course, have media giants that call the city of Glendale home. The Walt Disney Company is headquartered here in Glendale, DreamWorks Animation Studios, and then other studios such as Fuse, ABC7, Reverie, Benstown, large media organizations that work closely with the studios and the neighboring cities. But their headquarters are here in Glendale as far as their operations and their financial center. And we have a growing capital community. We have several different venture capital firms, private equity firms that call Glendale home. And it's really adding to the overall strength of of not just the city of Glendale or the Tri-Cities regions of Burbank, Glendale, and Pasadena, but to the overall SoCal tech ecosystem. And, we've had some very strong funding rounds from, Steamboat Ventures, which is run underneath the Walt Disney Company, Black Diamond Ventures, and some of the others that you see here. Funding has remained strong amidst the downturn, which has been exciting to see. So the city has been focusing on tech very intentionally since 2017, when the city created the Glendale Tech Strategy to really position itself as one of the leaders in this environment, and allow the city of Glendale to elevate its voice within the Southern California community, within the Los Angeles County community, and become a very active contributor to the overall tech scene that has emerged in this area. So the city's tech strategy has really been doubling down in recent years to promote Glendale as a tech hub, as an economic hub within the region. But then we're also able, being a smaller city, we're also able to promote a business-friendly environment that is very proactive, that works collaboratively with our local tech companies and other companies. The city also holds a strategy for creating space for tech, and we'll dive into that a little bit deeper today. That is what brings us all together today, is creating a space for tech. And then we also work collaboratively with all of the local universities and several different nonprofits and organizations to create and support a local tech workforce. The city of Glendale works very closely and is situated equidistant to giants such as Cal Poly Pomona and the Pomona colleges, Caltech, UCLA, USC, and actually this entire region was just recently rated as one of the best places in the entire United States in terms of number of students with high-tech degrees graduating from universities and entering the workforce. So this is a resource-rich environment for not just the city of Glendale, but within the broader county, the broader SoCal tech scene, California as a whole, and then within the nation. This is rapidly becoming one of the best places for companies to move in terms of funding, in terms of convenience of location and operations, and in terms of the ability to scale and grow with the tech force locally. All of these initiatives, of course, support the city's continuing desire to support and grow Glendale's quality of life, not just for those who are living here, but those who decide to work here as well. So creating a workspace that is able to grow with the company and support as needed. So diving deeper into that space for tech. So we're proud to call several different co-working companies home. Several co-working companies are proud to call us home. We're also proud of them, of course. And we have several different maker spaces that have popped up within the city in recent years. And we're actively reimagining how we can use the city's resources to further those creative spaces, to further those areas that startups can use, that larger companies can use, that individual contributors can use, to make it so that this is really a collaborative working city, and we're able to pull on the resources not just of the municipality, but of the county, of the state, but also from each other, to create really a collaborative environment that supports innovation and really creates a thriving tech ecosystem. There's also lots of office space that is within Los Angeles County, some of the better views and some of the better prices that you can get within the area for being so centrally located. And so there's a plethora of choices from Brand Boulevard and kind of the economic and tech hub of Glendale to the smaller, Montrose area of Glendale that is up in the hillside, the foothills, and next to some of the research institutions, JPL, for example. And so there's lots of convenience for several different industries within the tech sector. Manufacturing and biopharma spaces are also available in some of our areas down closer to the railroads. And so there's lots of opportunity within the city. We do house a couple accelerators here within the city of Glendale. The city was able to offer a grant from the state in 2020 that was awarded to two accelerator programs, KidsX and Hero House of Glendale. Both of them performed incredibly well using the last round of funding for this grant. and have grown to be recognized definitely within the area and nationally, and in some cases internationally, which is absolutely fantastic. And we're very happy to have supported them. The Disney Accelerator also calls Glendale home. The Disney Accelerator is constantly churning out, world-changing entertainment tech and media tech and engagement and interactive tech through their accelerator program that is obviously housed under the Walt Disney Corporation. So this leads us to the grant that we have here today, which is why you're all showing up. So the grant, similar to the one that was awarded in 2020, was given from California Senator Anthony Portantino and the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. So a $1 million grant was awarded to the city of Glendale to continue developing Glendale's tech ecosystem. And so this is really responding to the success of the prior accelerators that were able to run through the city's financial support, but also the continuing need to continue to flesh out our startup ecosystem, to continue to build out that support structure that allows ideas to grow into concepts and into companies, and then those companies to grow and flourish to really take the next steps to not just produce their product, but to grow and scale exponentially. So the city is seeking 2 operators to launch and operate a tech startup growth program that is located in the city of Glendale. So one question I've gotten from a lot of you is a clear definition for growth program. So we're being very intentional this time to expand beyond just an accelerator. We're very happy with the accelerators that have been run within the city so far, but the use of the term growth program is intentionally broad to include startup studios, incubators, accelerators, founders collectives, any other program that's really designed to give startup teams, founders, and their entire teams the resources, connections, skills, knowledge to grow and thrive. So some of the questions that we've received so far is if it has to be specific to a certain industry or to a certain focus area. We don't have any requirement to or preference towards any specific industry. We hope that you bring your best industry connections and your best industry proposal, I guess. And so it doesn't have to be agnostic. It doesn't have to be super specific. And yeah, so that answers that question. I'm happy to give additional clarity as we open it up to questions later on. And the focus can also be on any stage of company. This is really looking to flesh out the overall support ecosystem for startups. And so that could be ideation through exit. And then it can include any structure as long as the requirements are met. There's a requirement for touching at least 10 companies every single year. But beyond that, there's intentionally loose programmatic requirements. We want all of you to really bring something that you feel you can execute to the best of your abilities. So I know you all have seen these before in the RFP, but just to go over the key milestones, obviously we released the RFP, the request for proposals, on May 15th, and then you are all here at the pre-bid conference today. So going forward, June 5th is when written questions are due, and the response is going to be issued by June 14th. And again, those issued responses and all of the questions that we've received will be made public so that everyone can have the same information. The deadline for submitting the RFP is going to be June 28th, and that's at 5 p.m. The selection committee is going to review the RFPs during the month of July, and then we're going to recommend the selection. I shouldn't say we, I'm actually not going to be on the selection committee, but the selection committee is going to recommend the operators of their choosing to City Council in August of 2024. So as far as the evaluation process goes, obviously the evaluation criteria are laid out in the RFP, and we will go over that a little bit more later on. But there's going to be an initial review of all proposals just to make sure that they are complete and there is adherence to the requirements. There may be select interviews from selected operators, and so we'll reach out to you if that is the case for your proposal, but we'll have interviews and presentations, and then the committee will select the operators that they're going to propose to City Council at that point. As far as the program goals, we're really looking for something that's going to support the innovation community with the City of Glendale. So what does that mean? Grow emerging startups. We want to highlight startups that are in this area, as well as others that can be abroad. Some of you were asking about if it has to be in person the entire time or whether it can be hybrid. There is a requirement to have at least one in-person event during the year, but it can be a hybrid program. That is absolutely fine. But we're looking to really give support to the startups so that they're able to thrive in today's market. We're looking to generate and hype and promote Glendale and the broader region as a hub for tech and innovation, and really continue the momentum that has taken place with SoCal, within the SoCal tech scene. We're looking to attract and retain talent, not just a diverse pool of tech talents, but companies to Glendale and the broader region. So that is definitely one of the goals, and it should be included in part of your program, is how this is going to have some lasting impact within the region. And then, of course, driving the local economy, driving local economic development through supporting the entrepreneurs that are here and the startups that are coming here, and then creating high-paying jobs and solving meaningful problems that impact the globe today. As far as the objectives go, we will be expecting any operator to be able to launch and operate a startup growth program within the city, to recruit their own participants, whether that's a cohort style or whether that's a rolling admission. It's up to you again. But you will be doing the recruiting yourself. You will be measuring all of your KPIs. You will work with us in making sure that the KPIs are things that we are wanting to see and meet the requirements of the grant. So if the selected operator is there will be checkpoints throughout the extent of the grant to make sure that there is the continued performance. We're looking for building the entire program and the curricula that comes with that, and building out the network for the startups and for the founders so that they are able to grow and thrive. Sustaining beyond just the 3 years of the grant, we're looking for people that will come in and create something that is as permanent as it can be. And so, we're not expecting that this is the only source of funding that you have. We do look for sustainability and sustainability planning. You will be in charge of marketing. We will support you in that marketing, of course, but you will be in charge of marketing the growth program and the brand of the growth program as a way to promote the city and the broader region. And then also you'll be working collaboratively with the city, not, of course, as part of the growth program that you create, but then also there may be some additional requirements just for profiling the growth program and other smaller events throughout the tech ecosystem within the city of Glendale. I wanted to drill in on a few key points within the RFP that we did receive questions about. So one of those was, efforts to advance the Glendale tech strategy. One of you reached out and asked if if the city were to choose one, what would be the most important one? We put all 4 of those on there because they are all very important to the city. We realized that with 2 operators coming in and being selected, and that's spread over 3 years, it doesn't allow for everything in the entire world to be achieved, unless there's additional funding coming in. And so, we want you to be intentional about not just what strategies you're able to impact, the more the merrier, of course, but specifically how you're going to be able to do that. We're looking for concrete plans and a track record of being able to do similar things elsewhere. Okay, so the 4 areas that are highlighted within the city's tech strategy are promoting Glendale as a tech hub, creating and supporting a local tech workforce, supporting the quality of life of Glendale residents, and then supporting local Glendale industries. So you can learn more about our tech strategy using that link below. If you want to drill down further into some of the industries that have been profiled and are present within the city. That economic snapshot is from 2017, so it has shifted a tiny bit, but it's still, you know, we looked at it and then cross-referenced it with the companies that are still within the city, and it is majoritively true today. So that hasn't changed much, even though some of it may have shifted remote or hybrid, obviously with COVID. But the industries that were present then are still the industries that are present now. One of the other questions that has come up a lot is around the location within the city of Glendale. So operations must be run from within the city of Glendale, from a physical location where people are able to come and visit. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, large enough to host events. It is okay if it can be housed in a co-working space, but this can't just be a PO box. You know, there has to be some physical footprint where operations are run. It can be, you know, you don't have to have staff in there every single day, which is, you know, again, co-working space is absolutely fine. And then the event that's required, just as a reminder, it's at least one event. You're definitely more than welcome to do more than one event, but the baseline requirement is one event that brings together all of the community that you've created within the city of Glendale each year. That can be at a different location, but the city is more than happy to help in finding spaces and doing kind of site selection assistance for operational headquarters and also event locations. The city does have spaces that we could coordinate for use for those events. And as far as, you know, the city having spaces that can be used for operational headquarters, based on who is able to, who are the winning bids, essentially, that can be part of the discussion. We don't have anything that's attached to this RFP right now. The space that was attached to the RFP in 2020 is now occupied, but there are some other spaces that we could put together proposals for the city council. And so there is a potential that we would be able to provide a space, but it's not guaranteed like it was last time. So diving into the evaluation criteria, 30% of the evaluation is going to be based on the proposed plan and approach that you put forward. Again, we're looking for qualified and experienced applicants. So that's going to be an additional 30%, you know, a track record of doing something similar. And it can be based on collaborative partnerships. It can be based on all sorts of different things, but you know, we're looking for people who have been able to do this. Financial capacity, and again, building in sustainability is a key part of that. And then 20%, and financial capacity is 20%. And then the commitment to the Glendale tech community is an additional 20%, the final 20% there. So those are the areas that our selection committee will be looking at specifically. It is broken down into more granular detail in the RFP itself, into, you know, actual 5% and 10% this, and kind of subsections within those 4 segments. But those are the 4 main areas. There was a question that someone had. Let me try and, oh, yes, about, you know, there's verbiage in the RFP that says, you know, if the selection committee believes that there is a single operator that gives a convincing enough proposal, then the entire $1 million grant will be awarded to that single operator. That will be based on this evaluation criteria. You know, if the selection committee feels that the proposal is strong enough that essentially that proposal would gain the top 2 spots, then that can be combined into one single grant awarding of $1 million that would be split over the 3 years. So I hope that gives clarity there, but it will be on the same criteria that will be judged. I see a question for what does financial capacity mean? Just pulling up the RFP itself, you know, we're really looking for let me actually just read you exactly what it says on there. Sorry, let me find the right spot here. As I pull it up, financial capacity is really just looking at, you're demonstrating your ability to use the grant money effectively. You are showing a financial plan that is realistic, that includes personnel, that includes the operational dollars that are going to be required to do this. Again, we realize that this is going to be most likely a portion of the funding that will sustain this program long term beyond the 3 years. So, what are the vehicles that will allow for that continued operation? And let's see, so the 3 sections that are on here are demonstrating financial stability, readiness to proceed, and ability to meet the city's general terms and conditions, including contract terms, and a sample contract is included in the RFP. Detailed line item budget, and then proof of leveraging funding for continued operations. Sounds good. All right, so that was the overall coverage for the RFP, and we will now open it up to general questions. Feel free to just unmute yourself or raise your hand, either one.
Hey, David.
Hello, Armine.
Thanks for the detailed rundown of the RFP. I had a quick question regarding the evaluation criteria. If you go to the page 13, under the point A, proposed plan and approach, there are 2 points, quantifiable metrics, 3rd point, and the 4th point, marketing and branding. Could you maybe elaborate a bit on what are the ways the committee will be using to assess these 2 metrics? If you have something specific in mind, or if you can give us a bit more detail, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Sure, so quantifiable metrics, you're wanting just a little bit more clarification on quantifiable metrics and marketing and branding, is that correct?
Yes, so more specifically, quantifiable metrics regarding the growth program, or quantifiable metrics regarding the proposed plan and approach. What are the specific metrics that the committee would like to see?
Yeah, absolutely. So within section C, number 5, there is a whole section on the quantifiable metrics that are going to be required, but not limited to. So those are going to be, general number and general statistics of the applicant pool, the number and general statistics of companies participating, and then success of the participating companies in the 2 years after the growth program. So some sort of long-term tracking to see continued support or the longer term success. So those are the 3 that are required. But in addition to that, you can have, any sort of, what we're looking for this is there is some way that you would be able to be measured on your success. And so this would be specific to the growth program that you are trying to build, not necessarily the proposal itself, but relevant to the growth program you're trying to build. What are the metrics that you are proposing in addition to those 3 that would be able to be used by the city and by you to determine the successful execution of the grant strategy? Of the grant program.
Okay, sounds good. That's very helpful. And then regarding the marketing and branding, is this about how the recipient will be marketing and branding the accelerator itself, or promoting to the companies?
No, so this is the growth program itself. What is your plan for marketing and branding the growth program itself? And it ties into the recruitment and selection process. How are you planning to position this as a addition to the broader startup ecosystem within Glendale and within the broader community? And yeah, I guess, what is your strategy for promoting it and for marketing it?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Hi, David. Question here. Thanks for sharing this proposal. Very clear. Question about stage and focus. You mentioned that you guys are seems like open to various different topics and stages of companies. But my question is whether or not the selection team there has any preconceived notions about, certain areas that they feel like are more ripe for success for this, or like what is their level of education on different technology topics or different verticals, and to what extent that bias is relevant here in the selection. Thanks.
Absolutely. So we're not releasing the selection committee until after the selections are made, just to avoid any conflict of interest or avoid any pressure on them. But I can say that they're intentionally selected from a broad background to be involved within the tech community, both here in Glendale and beyond. And they come from different backgrounds within that industry that encompass education, that encompass more of an investment perspective, that encompass kind of the city contracting and management perspective, and then several from the tech industry themselves, from different verticals within the tech industry. So they're selected intentionally to avoid biases to specific verticals and specific subspecialty areas. And that will be part of the, that is part of kind of their edict is, let's look at this agnostic of your history, and let's just look at what program will be best for the community and for the city of Glendale in terms of all of the goals that we're trying to achieve.
Cool, thanks.
Morning, David. Thank you for the presentation. Quick question regarding the space. You said that you can have from co-working to other spaces as well. Is there any other element in the equation we need to take account for, as far as some office space for visitation or some mentorship programs, whatever? Is there any other parameters that you guys are going to be looking at for the space requirement?
No, there's no other program. There's no other requirements for that. So I mean, if you have an existing space in the city, that's great, but that's not required. It's not required that you currently exist or operate within the city. The only requirement is that there is an operational center within the city during the extent of the grant. And again, our intention with this is that you will remain in the city post grant as well. And so, no, I mean, there's not necessarily any requirements around exactly what that looks like. We are, again, very happy to work with whoever the selected operator is to find a space that best fits their needs. We have connections with all the different building landlords, and then would be able to directly connect people to find a space that they need. And then there is a chance that we would be able to offer something at a dramatically reduced cost through the city, but that would have to be put together as a joint proposal and taken to city council. So that's not guaranteed, but we would be happy to assist in that site selection process.
Great, thank you.
I got another question here, David. For those that are
Sure.
new to this, can you give us a little history, like on the program? When was this granted last? What has changed from last time till now? Maybe why? And then how did you guys arrive at these numbers for the grant? Thanks.
For the valuation
Yeah.
criteria, or for the, okay.
No, the grant values. Thanks.
Grant values themselves, as in the financial reward, not reward, but award. Yeah, so this is actually the third RFP that the city of Glendale has put forward. There was an initial grant there's an initial RFP that was put forward in 2019. That one ended up actually not selecting any operators, and it was deferred for a year and then re-released with an expanded grant opportunity in 2020. So both of those were in collaboration with the Governor's Office of California and the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. The grant that was released in 2020 was for $1 million as well. And it was divided equally between Hero House of Glendale and KidsX, which is an accelerator that's run out of Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. Hero House is associated with SmartGate BC here in Glendale. Both of that grant was specifically for an accelerator program and getting an accelerator up and off the ground. I think in both cases, those programs were already in their infancy, but this was really to help them scale significantly. And so that program, again, was focused specifically on accelerators. This program is a little bit more intentionally broad so that we can build on the success of the accelerators that exist within the city. And it can be an accelerator that is able to win this grant, but this grant does broaden the opportunity for application to include, all those other growth program things that fall into growth programs. So it could be an incubator, it could be a Founders Collective, it could be a startup studio, it could be, there are lots of different versions of programs that support innovation, support startups as they grow and scale and kind of find their rhythm within the broader business community. The numbers themselves, so this was, we're very fortunate to be awarded kind of a doubling down essentially of the $1 million grant from the city and from the state and the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. So that is how that number came to us. And then, as we were looking to really broaden the impact and increase the support community and kind of the interstitial network or interstitial tissue that makes up the collaborative community and the innovation community here in the city of Glendale, that was where the decision came from to split it up from the beginning and to really have the opportunity to fund two separate initiatives, two separate programs, with the reserving the right for giving both halves and awarding them to one operator if a convincing enough case was presented. So I hope that gives clarity there.
It does, thanks.
I see a question from KidsX. Would previous recipients be considered for the grant award again? Yes, absolutely. So the only requirement there is that it would have to grow or introduce, it would have to grow significantly or introduce a new element to what you're doing. This isn't just going to continue operations and be kind of a stopgap for continuing operations. This is really going to be something that is adding something new to the innovation ecosystem here within the city. So if you are already running something and using this just to continue running that something, then that's not what this grant is for. This is really for building out a new program, for creating a new offering that supports the innovation community here within the city. Parker, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. On behalf of Techstars, I just wanted to ask, do you guys have a preference in terms of the type of partner you would like brought in, be it a university, be it corporate, be it another investment platform? That's part one. And then part two would be, I assume that if you were to go with a single operator or even a dual, that you'd be more than happy to have the partner contribute additional funding to pull all of it together. Just ask the obvious.
Yeah, so I'll start with the second. So additional funding, we're assuming that additional funding will be involved. And so if there is, if you have additional partners that are kind of helping to give surrounding financial support to your program, then yes, absolutely, that's something that is accepted and expected to a certain degree. Not to a certain degree, that is expected for the continuity of the program here within the city of Glendale and sustainability planning. In terms of the partnership question you asked first, I think that it depends on the program that you are building out, but all of those are great options that you just listed. You know, so depending on what makes most sense for the program that you're building, yes, you know, university partnerships, kind of broader community partnerships. If there's an ecosystem that you have nationally, if there's an ecosystem that you have locally, if you have connections with, you know, there's a presence of, we have 3 hospitals here in the city of Glendale, for example, you know, so if you have connections with them and you're wanting to do a health tech specific accelerators, and that would be an example of a great network to be able to bring in. And so I guess it just depends on the type of program that you're looking to build, but definitely the more the merrier. The stronger the network you're able to bring, the more surrounding community you're able to give to the startups and the founders that are part of your growth program, the better.
Wonderful. Yep. Just wanted to check if there was a preference. Thanks.
Hey, David, jumping in again. Sorry, I'm not raising my hand.
Totally fine.
Question around the cadence of this. Last time you guys issued something, it was 4 years ago. Is this a 4-year cadence? And is there like any plans in the pipeline you could speak to about follow-on programs or investments? That'd be interesting to know. Thanks.
So this is not part, I mean, we're very happy to be able to offer $1 million grant opportunity again. We would love to make this a regular thing that the state gives us, but you know, that wasn't part of any scheduled plan from either the state or from the city. We were just able to leverage the success of our prior accelerator programs and take that back to the city and be able to, you know, receive an additional award. So in terms of, you know, will this exact same opportunity come up in 4 years? I hope so, but it's not guaranteed. And so in terms of follow-on funding, you know, yeah, there's nothing that's guaranteed. This is being treated as a one-time grant opportunity that will be spread out over the 3 years, the extent of the grant. But if there are additional grant opportunities, we're constantly looking for national grant opportunities, state grant opportunities, so that we're able to continue to build out the tech ecosystem here in the city.
Thank you.
Yeah, but one more question from me too. So is there, are there any like hard lines as far as where the funding should be, let's say, you know, directed to? Obviously, you know, like you said, we don't want people, you know, sitting around burning overhead. We want, you know, to make sure that this program will be widely known and actually outside of the city of Glendale, Los Angeles County and whatnot, all the way to Silicon Valley and whatnot, actually around the globe. But are there any hard lines as far as where the funding you like to see best used and whatnot?
We'll leave that up to you. I know that, you know, I assume that you're more familiar with your operations than we are. So, you know, we want you to be able to show us that you know your business well, that you know the proposed program that you're going to be giving, that you're going to be submitting well, and present a convincing enough case that it gives us confidence you will use the money efficiently and effectively. So no, there's no requirements around exactly what that will look like, as long as it is in some detail and coherent enough that it gives us confidence that if we give you the money, you'll be able to do something with it.
Thank you.
Hi there, I have a question regarding the type of industries. I know you said that it's sort of open, but there is evaluation criteria. Will the industries be evaluated as well based on sort of their relevance to the region?
It's not specifically one of the criteria. We expect that if you are bringing in a industry that is not currently present within the community, Glendale, or the broader LA ecosystem, first of all, there's pretty much every single industry within the broader LA ecosystem. And so, but still, if you bring in something net new, then we would need to see strong evidence that you would be able to bring in a community that is able to support the startups that are there and the founders that you're recruiting and bringing in. So, it would just make it a little bit more challenging to prove that, but it's not excluded at all.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure if you were actually looking for brand new or whether you were just looking to build on strength.
It can be both. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
It can be either, I should say.
Hey, David, how many people on the selection committee? And do they know each other?
I'm not sure how well they know each other, but within the city of Glendale, they definitely know of each other. And we're not revealing much around the selection committee just for their own privacy and for the confidentiality of, not the confidentiality, but for the, I guess, the protection of the integrity of the selection process. So yeah, we're I guess just, I will say that there is, we make sure that people recusing themselves for any personal conflict of interest is, we take that very seriously. That's the reason that I am not participating in the selection committee, since I have been involved with some of the prior awardees of the grant that was in 2020. But yeah, we're very serious around preventing conflicts of interest, and so we want to, rest assured that is a very prominent part of our decision for the selection committee.
So David, I'm gonna iterate a couple sentences and tell me where I'm wrong. Let's say it's a team of 10 people on the selection committee. Each of them are going to be responsible for reading every single proposal, and then for each one of these sections of the evaluation criteria, maybe they score them individually, and then there's some kind of average that's taken between each of them. Could you speak to that a little bit? Like, is this all going into a spreadsheet? How quantitative or analytical is it from your experience?
So for the initial review of the selection committee is not going to be seeing every single one, and if some of them are not meeting the basic requirements for the proposal, for the requirements of the RFP. So those, there will be an initial review just for completion and for relevancy to the RFP submission requirements. But then beyond that, yes, what you said, yeah, it is going to be, everyone is going to be looked at and considered individually. It's not going to be summarized and brought before them.
I've got another if no one else is going. How many proposals did the team receive 4 years ago on this? Are you allowed to share that?
I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay.
I will need to, I'll get back to you with that number and we'll publish it.
Orders of magnitude though, was it like 50 or 20, or like what would you ballpark it at?
From my immediate recollection, it was around, if not a little bit less than 20. But again, I'll clarify that and then I will bring it back to everyone.
Thanks, Dave.
David, I have a question. You mentioned that there might be the possibility through a separate proposal process regarding space or a facility for the accelerator. is one of the expectations with the current budget, whether it's the first tranche or altogether, to also pay for rent or lease the space with that existing budget, or with kind of the unknown of there potentially being a space that could be free or discounted. Is that information become more available so that can get factored into the proposal in some sort of way?
So we're not able to add any space guaranteed to this proposal through the city. That would have to be, just to clarify the proposal, for any awarded operators, we would work together with you to put forward a proposal to city council. It wouldn't be a separate thing that you have to do yourself. But it would be at the discretion of city council to approve or reject that, and so there wouldn't be any guarantee that is able to be attached to this grant. So in the absence of that guarantee, yes, you figure, if you don't have a space that's within the city right now, then a portion of that would be finding a location to run operations. And again, it could be it's fine if that's co-working space. It's fine. There's no requirement for what exactly that looks like, as long as it is some physical space that is not a PO box, and there is there is some operational presence here within the city of Glendale, and the requirement for at least one event. But there is a little bit more flexibility with that around publicly usable space that can, and the economic development team will work together with the operators to look for site selection that meets the needs of whatever type of event you're wanting to plan.
Great. Another question. How would, I guess the kind of a bigger question is, how would you measure the success and the impact of the accelerator and the program over time? I know that sustainability has been mentioned about ensuring that there's additional funding to sustain it past the 3 years, but in addition to that, what else is that? What does that mean? Is that bringing in more partners? Bringing in more cohort, or expanding on the cohort, addressing a few industries, if not all of them, that plays on the strengths of the city. Just if you can expand on that a little bit more, that would be great.
Sure. So, as far as what we're looking for success out of the program, let's see, I'm just going up to the elements that are right. Okay, so within the RFP, so the goals are to, really amplify the local startup community and provide emerging companies with the tools and support that they need to thrive in today's market, promote the city of Glendale and the region as an innovation hub, attract and retain diverse pool of tech talent and companies to Glendale and the broader area, and then drive local economic development through supporting entrepreneurs, potential high growth startups, and that may generate revenue and creating high wage paying jobs and products that are solving meaningful problems. So those are the core tenets of the growth program that we're looking for. What it means beyond the extent of the 3-year grant, we're looking for programs that are here to stay. And so, we are hoping that, that we're able to see over that 3-year period, and we're able to see from the proposal that this is something that is anticipating a longer runway than just the 3 years of the grant. And so, again, the expectation is that there might be either additional funding that's secured or some sort of funding model that allows for the continuation of the program beyond the 3 years. And that is what success would look like, is not only are you here during the grant, but you are creating a program that is able to continue growing the startup community ecosystem here. You said, does it have to touch every single sector within the tech community here in the city of Glendale? Not necessarily. You're creating a program that is going to execute to the best of your ability within, the parameters that you propose. And so it would just be continuing that and ideally expanding it if you're able to, and if it's strategically advantageous in the future. But just having a program that is able to steadily continue and grow over time.
David, I have a question. Is it a requirement or is it viewed as advantageous if the operator also makes investments in the startup companies that would be recruited in?
Not required, and not specifically advantageous. I think that would contribute to the sustainability portion of the financial picture. And so that could, if there is additional funding or if there is a funding structure, obviously that would be mentioned in the proposal, and that would just be seen as kind of one of the contributing components to the financial growth and to the ability to support the startup economy here and the startups that are part of the program. So doesn't tip the scales in either way, but is a relevant detail to include, obviously.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Last chance for questions. And of course, if you have any other questions, feel free to send them in, submit them to me by the 5th, and then we'll be able to get back to you with the answers and publicize the answers after that. Let's see, what is the date for that? I think that it was the 14th. And again, thank you all for your interest in this proposal, in this request for proposals. We're very excited by the interest that we've received so far, and by the breadth of interest that we've received. And we're excited for this opportunity. We're excited to see what the proposals are that are going to be coming in, and excited to select and get started working with an operator who's going to be able to help support the startup growth community within the city of Glendale. And so thank you all for your time today. Really appreciate you being here, and feel free to reach out with any other questions or comments or concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.